Peace. Hey, everyone. I'll take this off because I can't see. Welcome, welcome. Friday Night Live. Here we are. So I just want to give everyone a moment to congregate and just, hey, Gavin, come over here, buddy. Come say hi to people. Come here, up. Gavin wants to say hi. So here's Gavin after a long week. We had a long week, huh? Yeah. And we're just kind of checking in for a second, letting everybody get here, aren't we? I know. It's so hard to be you. I know. Who wouldn't love a Gavin, huh? Who wouldn't love a whippet? Crazy little whippet. So yes, I did have my hair re-blued, so there's more blue in my hair. And welcome everybody. I don't have my glasses on yet. I will welcome you in a moment. Just want to give you the overview of tonight. What I'm going to talk about is I've gotten really involved in this this case. It's an older case and it's being brought up again. Adnan Syed, who I believe now, I'm really getting this hit that he was wrongfully convicted in 1999. A Muslim boy in Baltimore. I'm going to talk about the time period. And I think time periods have a lot to do with crime and a lot to do with why certain people go to jail and other people won't. You know, when I say jail, prison, some people serve time, some won't. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And I'm just going to say hi. And if you're first time here, say that too. We want to know. We want to be able to say hi to you. Thanks, Dawn. Beautiful. I know I've got blutified here. Welcome from Carlsbad. Kelly K, good to see you. Megan, Marie, hi. Becky, Texas Lassie. Spiritual Solace with Carmia, it's so good to see you. We've missed you. You're here, yay. Wild Irish Rose is here. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. Paige, good to see you. First time, great. You know, it's funny, somebody actually said, I had to sit through 2 minutes of you saying hi to people. And, you know, I kind of thought, yeah, well, I had to sit through a minute of reading your post. So, you know, it's like, just want to say hi to people and welcome them because it is. Margaret Paul, welcome. Glad you're here. Love to know what brought you over here. Is it Adnan Syed? So we're going to talk about that. Yeah, I'm really happy to see everybody. And, boy, the PC police were out this week, guys. That's all I'm going to say to you is that they were like driving their little clown cars with like little, you know, clown noses on because it was just too much, you know. So there's a couple things that were kind of funny to me. And I think it's one of those things. I'm going to start by saying, and I want to talk about Adnan because I think that this particular crime has a lot to do with that time period in Baltimore, a lot like when I was talking the other night about the Menendez brothers. So I'm going to talk about, and I think one of the niches I'm finding very interesting is, and I don't know about you, but the time period in which people commit crimes or don't and get convicted, and particular wrongful convictions and what was going on in the environment at the time. So, and you all know I'm very pro law enforcement. I don't feel that, I think that the times change is what I'm saying. And I think that there's a lot of pressure on people, particularly police officers, particularly at certain time periods. Don't you think so in history? So I'm just going to look and say hi to people a little bit, and then I'm going to, oh, Sean's here. Yay, Sean. Jessica, happy Friday. Oh, good. Margaret stalking the videos. Natty Bats, good to see you. Let's see. Sorry, but in my opinion, he did it. Okay. I know, thank God it's Friday. And he may have or he may not have. Let's talk about miscarriage of justice and fair trials too, which I think is really another thing. I love parsnickety. Love that. Unneeded, he didn't do it. So this is great. This is great. Here's the thing. You know, I want to talk about Baltimore in 1999, and then I'm going to get into my own snarky side, and we'll talk about snarkies and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing is, and I want to give you a little bit of ground rule, please say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. If you call somebody names, you're probably going to be booted. If you say rude or distasteful things, like something like really criticizing someone on the feed, me or anyone else, will probably like kind of boot you, just because I want to keep an open conversation and just a sense of decorum so that we can have like an open dialogue. And I think that's super important when we do this. And I have to always mind myself too. So what's the slogan we say? We say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. And let's be kind to each other. And remember, everyone has a right to their thinking and their opinion and their conclusions. And one of the things I think is really important is based on where we come from in our lives. That's where we're going to really say, I think he did it, or I think he didn't. And I think it's really hard to be unbiased. And I want to say that more and more and more over the years, I really feel that peace officers have become more and more and more unbiased in many ways. I know some people will disagree with that, but I think the courts have become, and again, every case is different, but I found that to be a little bit more accurate. So let's talk really quickly about what was going on in Baltimore in 1999 when Adnan Syed was, and I'll give you all the cliff note of it. Basically, he was a high school student. He was 17 years old. He is Muslim. He came from a practicing family. He was very Americanized, and although strictly religious as well. So it's kind of an interesting. He didn't have a cruel family, but he didn't want his family to not disrespect him, but he didn't want to, be disrespected by them or be disrespectful to them. He met a Korean girl, and forgive me, Ms. Han, and if I have her name wrong, I'm sorry. And he dated secretly, and they got into a relationship. And I really get from him and his conversations and some of the things I've read that has been written that he, for all intents and purposes, was a really solid student, A student. Everybody liked him. There wasn't, and even later, no one dissed him. Like no one said, "Oh my God, he was this or that." I mean, it seemed like in 1999, everybody was smoking pot. So it wasn't like, you're in high school and you're smoking dope. It's like more like, oh, you're in high school, you smoke pot. I mean, I don't get the feeling it was like a big deal. It was like everybody kind of got high. All right. And even when I was in high school, we got high. And yes, we inhaled, So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, everybody was like, just doing the same kind of thing. I didn't get the feeling that he was out committing crimes. And if we put it that way, he seemed like a very nice young man. His girlfriend, my Korean girl, broke up with him. Forgive me, I can't remember her name right now. She broke up with him, and a couple days later, she was murdered. Now, here's a couple things that you may not know, which, if you follow the case or haven't. First of all, they were on very good terms. He wasn't someone who's bitter. She broke up with him because she didn't want to have a secret relationship anymore, because she was keeping him from her family and he was keeping her from his family. And of course, everybody found out anyway later. But basically, they broke up on or around the 11th of, I think it was, forgive me if it was April or May, and I may even have, it may be March. I've got my dates wrong. But basically, it was the 11th of the month. If someone knows, you can correct me. Let me just see. Ringing a bell vaguely, 1999. Yes. Okay. It's Adnan, Adnan, Syed, Syed. And it was... Hey, Bruce, let's see. Okay, good. So basically, her name is Hot. That was it. Thank you, Unneeded. I appreciate that. Harhe, was it Harhe Hot? Yeah. And so she had a very proper Korean name, Saeed's girlfriend. And overall, okay, overall, the impression I got from both of them was that they really, really cared for each other. But I also felt that she admitted some sexual abuse in her past to him. He didn't know what to do because he'd never experienced this. Then she went on to work at LensCrafters and met a boy at LensCrafters who she liked, and then fell head over heels for him, like within like a couple of weeks of them breaking up. But she and Adnan had already mended fences. It wasn't like a bitter breakup. It wasn't like, I hate you. It was more like, I don't want a secret anymore. I don't want to live in secret. And he understood. And that was it. And they seemed friendly. So the other thing that is really, really important here is that, let's see, I think it is pronounced hey. Thank you for that, Natty Bats. I appreciate that. We're gonna party like it's 1999. Yeah, pretty much. So in that time period in 1999, now you kind of have the set there, all right? I'll talk about her disappearance and murder in a moment. If we go to what was going on in Baltimore at the time, it was the city, for some of you may not remember, it had the most murders. It surpassed, I think at the time it was like the most, and that surpassed Chicago. Chicago later surpassed it, but it was the most we had seen in any urban area. And Baltimore was like, I think it was 300 murders in a year, which was kind of like pretty much every day, right? And the teacher, Hat's teacher, had even said, and she said it was really scary at that time period because she remembers like 4 or 5 of her students over the course of a year were murdered. So it was a very violent city to be in. There was a lot of crime. Okay, there was a lot of murder in particular. And I don't know how much better Baltimore is now, but the police department was given a lot more leeway. They were given a lot more wide berth with laws, because what was happening was their hands were so tied that they couldn't really, get the, excuse me, they weren't able to capture criminals. And later, I think it was one of the guys who retired said that it was really difficult because they were under pressure to get 51% of evidence. But he said, even though we only had 51% of the evidence, we still had to go in and prove 100% of the crime. So what they were doing was they were really going with a lot more hearsay, in my opinion, this is my opinion, than they would have now. They even had DNA that they never tested. So there was a lot going on in this particular case. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of pressure to clear murders. There was a lot of pressure to like get these things, as they call them, off the board. Because in those days, right, we really were new in the internet, guys. You had a pager, and Adnan had a cell phone, which was kind of like, as you remember, it was like, and you were like this. So it wasn't, and I think he was one of the few amongst his friends that had a cell phone. So there was a lot of stuff like that. Like we really were at the, I want to say at the curve of cops were still putting things on whiteboards, and I'm sure they might still do that, but it was much more dependent upon paperwork, much more dependent upon on the whiteboard and clearing things. And so clearing a case had a lot more, I want to say it was a lot more pressure. And if they had a modicum, like a little bit of information, they pressed it. And we all know that there have been people who've been railroaded by this kind of thing. And I think when you look at the, it was a Korean girl, it was a Muslim boy, the person who ratted on him, on Adnan, forgive me, I think his name is Jay, and I'm getting all the names wrong, but if someone knows, correct me. You're right, the day of pagers. So it's like one of the things that, okay, I'm glad Ravenator said that they had 6 police commissioners in 8 years. Thank you, Anita. It was Jay. So Jay was one of their classmates, a black boy. So you can imagine now you've got these 3 ethnicities, right? So you've got this kind of like the day of Hat's disappearance. The prosecutor, the police never really followed up on a very important lead. She disappeared She went, we don't know what happened to her. She was gone for 2 days, and then she was found in the woods. I think it was even a couple weeks later. She was found in the woods, and it was by a guy who supposedly had to pull over to take a leak. And he literally, this guy went back in the woods, if that's where he was, and he found her halfway buried under some dirt. Now, that guy who found her was also a petty criminal, and he had been arrested prior, so he had a rap sheet. And I'm going to get more into the details in another video, but I want to kind of introduce you all to the case a little bit as a bigger picture. So, because I want to definitely get your thoughts on it too, so it'll give you a chance to really do the research. So, Jay, I'm glad you said that. Jay Walker, is that his real name? I need to. It's like, you know. Anyway, okay. So Jay Walker, so Han was missing, and nobody knew where she was. And here's the thing that's kind of, now the day she went missing, Adnan had no reason to think about an alibi. So when they brought him in, he was like, I don't know where I was, you know, and the idea was they asked him questions, and he was like, what are you asking me about? Like, he literally didn't know. They also tricked him into signing the paper, and in those days they did that a lot, right? They put a paper in front of him, and he said, what's this? And it was basically, they were saying, oh, this is just saying that we can talk to you, and it was basically the waive of his Miranda rights. So also his court-appointed attorney, right, he asked for one. They said, oh, we don't have that. And he said, I want my attorney. They said, who's your attorney? He said, I don't know, you know, and because he didn't know. But then his family had gotten an attorney for him, right? But they wouldn't let Adnan's attorney in. So this is kind of giving you the feel of what was going on. They were really trying to get him because he was the boyfriend and he did not have an alibi, we think. But it was years later that there was another girl that said, you know, I looked at my date book, and the day she was missing, she went missing, I was with Adnan. We were in the library. Well, when she tried to take that to the police, they wouldn't listen. And she also tried to take that to the prosecutor, and they didn't. They pretended like it didn't matter, it was unimportant. But the problem is that that time period where she said she was with Adnan in the library, which was never disclosed to the defense or the prosecution at the time. Well, it was disclosed to the prosecution. They didn't listen. She then has now come out and said, why didn't they listen? So there's a whole thing, I'm getting truth bombs. There's a whole thing that's reopening this case. I'm going to talk about Jay Walker in a minute. I just want to check. Unneeded said Jay was going to be charged with murder and executed, but the judge offered him immunity for Adnan. Okay, so what I want to say that happened, and Unneeded is correct in this. What was happening was they caught Jay because he was supposedly driving the car. There's a lot of sketchy stuff. But then he came out when they got him in the cage, and he said, "Oh no, Adnan killed her. I went with Adnan and helped him bury her in the woods." Now, that to me was like, I'm sorry, if I was a cop, I would be going, wait a minute. So this just doesn't sound right to me, okay? So, and the truth of the situation for me is that there was evidence that they did not allow into the trial. Now, something else I want to say about Jay that's very important. Jay has gone on to have restraining orders against him. He has a rap sheet a mile long, petty grievances. What else did he have? Oh, he has assault charges that have been filed against him. This is a guy that's gone on to be completely violent, but they let him go at the time, right? Because he testified against Adnan. And Adnan was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know anything about this. Not only that, they had DNA they did not test from the scene, and Adnan said he wasn't there. So a lot of what was going on at that time, and this is just what I'm talking about, there was a lot of hatred, even then, of Muslims. Now, when we talk about 2001, which was only, 2 years later, 9/11, right? There was a lot of deep-seated stuff going on. Now, if we look at the Middle East and we look at what was going on in a lot of inner cities, it was like, who are we going to get? You know, so a lot of this was, I want to clear this person, you know, I want to clear this crime. Let's see. Yeah, Amanda Knox, exactly. Okay. You know, here's the thing. Here's the thing I think, and I've always felt that about that Amanda Knox, Seattle, what did you say? Seattle crime gal? Is that your name? Yeah, I love that. I don't mind discussing that. I'm just on this right now. And I don't have anything about talking about other things. I'm talking about this particular case because one of the things that I want to lay the groundwork for on this is looking at crimes as the time period that they take place in as well. And we can look at cases like Kitty Genovese, in New York, or we can look at Amanda Knox and the time period in the world. You know, I think when Amanda Knox, and I'm just going to say this, when she was arrested, you know, we were very naive about rules in other countries. You know, the idea of guilty until proven innocent was something like, what? Now in America, we are tried and convicted in the media before we even get to court. Now, I think that what's happening here with Adnan is that there's enough evidence that's moving forward at this time to really look at, and I hope. Now, I know he's up now, and I don't know if it's been decided yet, so forgive me if I haven't mentioned this, but one of the things I want to say is that they've granted him a new trial. No, they've granted him a hearing to determine if he should be released or get a new trial. So it's an interesting thing that's happening, and I want to follow this particular case because I feel like, and it was very interesting, I think that there are very strong feelings about that person did it or that person didn't do it. And I think no matter what we do with how much information comes out, I think it's going to be really hard unless we have, like, and that's why I started in my own world with the Chris Watts case, because when we look at that, when we look at the world the way it is right now, we're looking at like, oh my goodness, like, you know, we're accusing people of crimes without even knowing what they're pleading yet, you know, or we have so much evidence against somebody and it's obvious that they did it and they go free. And what's that about? So I think we're in a very interesting time legally as well. And I think that we're starting to see that there are certain people that have gotten away with things for a long time because of who they are. And that may not be, and I'm not sure what that means right this moment, and I'm being really upfront as I say that, but a couple things that I want to add to this, and I want to go to the PC, I want to talk about the PC police, and then I'm going to come back to, I just want to check in with you guys. Okay, I'll talk about that. Let me see. High school. Yeah, that's a 90s throwback. Thank you, Wild Irish Rose. I want to say that, let me look. Okay. Yeah, I think that Seattle Crime Gal, I will talk about Amanda Knox. Probably not as much tonight, but I thank you for bringing that up. I know. Okay. Okay. All right. No, I won't watch Game of Thrones because I'm going to be going to the theater. That's right. I'm going to go see David Sedaris. I think he's hysterically funny, and he is going to be here in Asheville, so I'm going. I have bought myself a ticket. Okay, so I want to stay on Adnan for a moment because I think one of the things that that we have to look at and that we must address in our legal system is more and more the bias. As much as everybody's like, oh, we're all so equal, you know, we're not. And so the truth is, I think we should be equal under the eyes of the law. And I think that people need to be retried and get a fair trial if they didn't get one in the first place. And I think that just because someone is not a very happy, jovial, polite person doesn't mean they're guilty of something. Now with Adnan, he was very happy and jovial. He was a nice guy. So, we're seeing something very different there. And there are a lot of loose ends in that case. So I'm opening up the conversation about it because I want you guys to just do your own little looking into it. And then we'll talk about it more. I want to get into the deeper aspects of that case as I go deeper, because I'm only kind of on the surface right now. But this particular case was so tragic to me because I feel like this young man has been imprisoned for 20 years for a crime he quite possibly did not commit, and it had a lot to do with, and I even watched some of the Baltimore police officers and their testimony, and I was like going, dude, you just seem like one of those like hardcore I'm right kind of cops from like the 50s, and you just don't seem like you gave this guy a fair shake. So I think when I look at it that way, and I think that when I look at it that way, what comes forward to me is the idea that I think we have to look at time periods in terms of when people are unfairly accused and tried. And I find it interesting that they didn't have a great case against Jay. So what they did was they took Jay's word for it, and literally everyone, it was Jay's word that they went on and they tried and convicted this young man. And I bet you dollars to donuts, as my father used to say, that that jury was not of his peers. And when I say not of his peers, I don't mean it was like all white people. I don't mean like that. I mean it was of people that were scared of anything that's unlike them. And I think we're living in a time like that again. I don't think that ever really goes away. I think what we can do is behave better. And it really begins with us to behave better. And I think that's the bottom line, is that I think the more we see, in some ways, the more minorities coming into police departments, and the integration of a lot of the knowledge we have now, the better it's getting for a lot of people. And challenging too. There's really no. I agree, Loston. Lost in translation. Just got that. Adnan was put in prison because of one phone call saying to look at him. I agree. And I have a feeling that was from the girl's brother. I think that's what it was. Oh, Naeem. And thank you. Yeah, I wish I could comment something about the case, but I haven't heard of it. I do feel like there are many laws in place protecting people from being wrongfully convicted. And yeah, I think those same laws can get them into trouble. Let's see. There was not a lot of evidence against Adnan. And the thing is that I'm telling you what I really see. And I'm seeing this too with, with the idea of, I don't know how to put this without sounding bad, so I'm just going to say it, with the idea of closing cases on lives that people don't think mattered. And I think that when we look at the destruction of that family, and I have to say that Adnan's family is so strong, and bless them, because they're sticking together, but they feel this incredible loss. And this guy, he's been in jail for 20 years, and he's, now he's very devout. And I really feel that it's only fair that we relook at cases that perhaps had that kind of, this kid may have gotten railroaded. And so truth bumps, I'm so excited for the Justice Project, or what is it? The something project, forgive me. Margaret Paul, I know, perfect Friday night, thank you. It was Hayes' brother who made the call. That's what they found later. And thank you, Margaret Paul, I appreciate you. Who do I think killed Hay? What does my intuition tell me? I think Jay did it. But then, that was my first hit, okay? But then I had another hit that it was the recent boyfriend. And I have to look, when I say recent, the one right after Adnan. And the reason I say this, I think his name was Don, white boy, blonde hair. But then I just saw pictures of him 20 years later, and he's like got some weird disease, and he's like bloated. He just looks like, I mean, it's like if you held two pictures up, like here's one and here's the, he doesn't even look like himself. And I think people who commit crimes self-destruct if they don't get caught. I think it just, they keep going, keep going. Jay is one of those people that kept going, and I'm questioning Don as well. He did not have an alibi. He's the one that worked at Lens Crafters, but the timeline didn't work because supposedly he was at Lens Crafters till 6 o'clock, and then he went to meet Hat. And the thing about it is that he never reported it. I mean, what, like what is going on with that? The family reported it. Now, Adnan wouldn't have a reason to really report it because they weren't dating at the time. He didn't have, but he did call the night before. Okay, he and Hay talked the night before because he had just gotten his new cell phone. He says this, by the way, and he gave it to her, so she had it. What happened was Hay's brother called that number thinking it was going to be Don, and instead it was Adnan, and that's why he said you need to look at him because she wrote down his phone number. Well, but Adnan even said, I called her the day before. Supposedly she went, I called her on the 12th, or I think it was like the 10th or so. It was the day before she went missing. And he said, I called her and we talked for like an hour that night. I gave her my phone number, my new number. So you see what I'm talking about here is that every time they asked Adnan what was going on, he just told them, because you see, he wasn't looking at himself as a suspect. And yet it was Jay's testimony and Jay's word that said, well, I went with him. And then suddenly Jay was like looking in a dumpster for the tools they used because he wanted to wipe his prints off because he supposedly helped Adnan bury the body. But here's the thing. Then in testimony, he said, oh, I didn't bury the body, Adnan did. His story had so many holes, it was like Swiss cheese. I couldn't even believe it. Hold on, I want to say hi. Yifa, oh, sorry. Icelandic fan. Susa, I'm going to say Susa because I'm going to destroy your name if I try to say it, but it's really pretty. Icelandic fan, oh my gosh. Northern Lights. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. I appreciate it. Oh God, that's on my bucket list, by the way, everybody. We have to go to Northern Lights. It's just gonna have to do that. Thank you, Yif. I'm gonna say, let's see, Lifa. I hope I said it right. Lifa. Okay. Natty Bat said, I'm a cold case addict, so I have a lot of random knowledge like that. Awesome. Yes. Lost in Translation just said it. It all started with a serial podcast diving into it. Now, this happened, very, very interesting story, actually, of how the serial podcast happened. Adnan's, I want to say she's like an aunt, but she may be just a family friend. She went to law school, and she couldn't help Adnan because she was in a very tough relationship, blah, 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 that she had a lot of problems going on in her life. So when he was convicted, it was kind of like she couldn't really help. Years later, cut to years later, she's a polished lawyer, and she's also Muslim. So they're all kind of they're like, her family and his family are close. So she then said, who can I get? We've got to get to the media. And she remembered that there was one person that was, I want to say, forgive my ignorance, it was one woman who had been at a particular newspaper, and she remembered that this woman had been a very fair journalist. Well, she contacted her. And, it's really, I believe that God has a plan, right? And truth bumps, like totally divine intervention. It just so happened that this particular woman said, well, I'd like to do it as a podcast, and nobody knew what podcast was back then, by the way, and nobody knew what it was even, I think it was like 10 years ago now, maybe 15 years ago. Anyway, the point I'm making is that this woman did a podcast on it. Then she went on to it was like a series of 10. Well, no one knew it would catch on the way it did, and it blew up to be huge. And there were 10, I want to say it was 10 episodes, and it's called Serial, right? So the Adnan Syed thing became huge, and this one woman, the friend of the family, she she is still championing Adnan's case. But now that then Serial happened, it won awards. This particular journalist won awards for it. And then from that, I want to say HBO is doing a documentary right now, and I know there's a series on Amazon. So it's going to be a very worldwide case. And I think it's timely for us to be looking at where the world was in that day, at that day and age. Sorry, I'm getting like dry throat. Hold on. So what's happening right now in the world is that, you know, we're seeing this case start to blow up, but it makes me wonder how many of these types of cases were cleared when the person really was like an innocent, nice person. I mean, I hate to say this, but I am going to say it. You know me. You know, not all. A lot of criminals, they don't come from families that are really nice and decent. Now, that's not always true. But I look at Adnan's family, and they're fantastic people. I mean, they're devout. They run a day school. There's a lot of like really wonderful things about this family. And so I'm kind of going, it doesn't make sense to me that this well-spoken, really, he had no reason, is what I'm saying. There's no motive. There was no motive. They were still friends. And he wasn't jealous. He didn't send hateful texts to her. There's no trail of hate. But here's the interesting thing. Part of this new thing that's resurfacing is the girl from the library who knew Adnan. And she said, I suddenly remembered that he and I met that day, truth bombs, we met that day in the library because I was talking about his breakup from Hey. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry you guys broke up. And he said, yeah, he said, you know, just timing, it's not right. And they just talked about it. Well, that was the time that Hey went missing. So, and that is the thing that didn't come out in the original trial. So it's very interesting when we look at what didn't come out in the original trial, and then we go back to, you know, what I was talking about the other day with the Menendez brothers, where they had two trials. Their first trial, it was a hung jury because they brought in the idea of being abused by the father, and family members even admitted that. Here's what happened with Menendez between the first and the second trial. O.J. Simpson was set free. He was acquitted of his crime. So you can imagine now this judge has another high-profile case. It's a different judge. High-profile case on her docket, and she says, I'm not going to allow the family abuse thing in. And immediately, of course, once they didn't have that, the boys were convicted. Now, am I saying they're innocent? No, they definitely killed the parents. There's just no two ways about it. But the thing is that are these people that should be in prison without the possibility of parole? And I think that's kind of what we need to look at in some of these cases is that, you know, is it really, and this is what, when it was signed into law months ago, I want to say a couple minutes ago, it was in America, it was signed in by the president. The criminal justice reform is giving us an opportunity to look at a lot of these cases. Now, this has been going on for decades where none of the presidents signed it. It was put in front of all of them. And it just got signed in the last, I want to say 6 months, but it was very silent because, you know, when you're whatever. Okay, let me see. You mentioned 10 years, right? Not 20. He's been in jail 10 years. I want to say that, you know, one of the things I want to say is that Adnan, when he was tried, he was like, you know, he didn't understand most of what was happening because they understood. They came from a country where for them, you know, criminal justice, you were railroaded. And so they didn't think America was like that. So he just said what he was going to say. But he was denied his counsel. And even his counsel said that. I couldn't get in to see him. So there was a lot of things that were handled incorrectly in that case. And no matter what you think, and I don't care in this one, we have a right to a fair trial. And I don't feel he had a fair trial. Whether he's guilty or he's innocent isn't the conversation right at this moment. Although I feel in my heart, like you asked me what my intuition is, I feel that Jay did it. That's my feeling on it. That's my hit. Because why else would he turn around and go, he did it? And then it was kind of like the McCarthy era. You know, we've got these minorities, so I don't care. One minority's claiming the other did it. You know, I just feel like it was kind of like, I just feel he was railroaded. And I think that he deserves a new fair trial with all the evidence introduced. And people have a right to build their case. And for a judge to say, like in the Menendez thing, you can't bring in that, you know, the child abuse thing. Well, wait a second. The mothers, and I'm talking now about Menendez, the mother's sister said they were abused. Yet they murdered her own sister, but she said, well, this was really bad for the boys. So what I'm trying to say to you is fair trial, fair trial. And I think that that's what the criminal justice reform is. You know, the idea of, you know, two people going up for the same crime, you have to look at them and say, there could be a completely different intention. There could be, you know, we have to look at all the circumstances. But in those days in Baltimore, there were too many murders. So I think we're looking at a very different time right now. Let's see, Librarian Girl, you came and changed New World. I don't know what that means. I think she changed her word. Let's see. Okay, Lost in Translation says, me too. Tori, it seems like Jay showed so much remorse and was troubled due to drugs, and the cops wanted the case closed. I agree. I agree. I really feel that Adnan, I'm getting, I gotta tell you, I'm getting truth bumps, that, you know, that at the end of the day, I do feel that, and thank you, Jennifer, I do feel that when we see these kinds of cases, we need to speak up. And I feel that when I look at Adnan, you know, and I've talked to you guys openly about my feelings about certain things. Like, I think, like, you know, the BS conversation around diversity. Well, okay, be all diverse you want, but if diversity means I have to agree with you, then that's BS. If diversity means open mind and we have to look at things fairly, then let's do it. I'm all on that. But I think sometimes we forget. And okay, here's my mini rant of the night. Some woman put on my thing and she said, you know, you don't know, you're just a white woman and I can't believe you're against diversity. And I'm like, I never said that. Like, I never said, what I don't want is closed-minded diversity. What I don't want is people to go, I'm diverse, and diversity means the color of your skin. That's BS. It should be an open mind to all circumstances, right? To me, that's diversity. It's like if you just say, I'm going to put these people of color in this room because that's diversity. No, it's open-minded thinking of what are these opportunities we want to offer people, and what can we give people as a hand up, not as a hand out. To me, that's real diversity. So when we look at someone like Adnan Syed, you know, I really feel, and I'm getting truth bumps, I really feel that the wall just closed on him because he is Muslim, and I think that that's not fair. I think that we need to look at this case because the truth is, I just don't think it was adequately, how can we say, not researched. What's the word I'm looking for? Help me. Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, here we go. I know, right? Lost in translation. It's like, you know, and here's the thing, Natty Bats, that's fine. If you think he did it, that's totally fine. I still think he's entitled to a fair trial. And I don't think he got one. And I feel the investigation stopped when they got Jay, and they got Jay on drugs, and he fingered other people for them. Now, here's something else I want to point out about Jay. Miraculously, now I'm on the Adnan Syed thing. Jay, how is this? He got arrested something like 20 times, but he only actually went to any kind of trial or jury like 3 or 4 times. Who is he working for, and what kind of informant is he, is my question. Because I think there's a big cover-up that happened there. And that's my, let's see, exactly. I'm going to, hold on, where Jennifer, oh, I'm sorry. I don't, Jennifer, she said, and I don't think she should have been blocked, but it says, it means black, white, rich, poor, educated, not Catholic, Muslim, all humans, period. I agree with you, Jennifer, 1000% on that. I don't know how to unblock you. Let me see if I can do it. I don't know if I'm allowed. Hide moderator. Nope, 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 nope. Put user. Nope. Nope, I don't know how to do it. Sorry, guys. Maybe if you can unblock her, that'd be great, guys. Because I think it's, and that's what I'm trying to say to Natty Bats, is that whether or not someone did it, they're entitled to a fair trial. And they're entitled to a full, thorough investigation and not be swept under the carpet. Because I think that one of the things that happens is that, you know, it's just some minority case. And you know what? No, it's a life. It's a family. It's people who, you know, in some ways grieving and want a closure to it. And guess what? It's not closure if the killer's still out there. And I really feel, my gut tells me it has something to do with Jay, and it has something to do with the fact that he may be some kind of informant. And the reason I say that is because how many informants have you seen commit crimes where they go free? And I know there's big high profile cases where this happened in the past. So I really feel, and Jay, by the way, is now in California. He's no longer there. But I think that we need to look at, I think we really need to look at this as a totality. And I really feel that, here we go. Rachel Tansky just said, yep, I work in academia and universities try to check off diversity requirements, but rarely change their practices. So the people of color, women, etc., that get hired often have to do more work. Yes. See, let me tell you something. You ding, 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 you just rang my bell. All right. You rang the bell. And let me tell you something. I got to get a bell. Somebody do so you can ring the bell. You know what I want to say about that is that's the problem, is that the diversity thing is like, oh, let's hire this minority and get them to do twice as much work. Yep. Because that's what's not fair. You know, if you want to get right down to it, that's what's not fair. And that's why I look at someone like, you know, they stole 20 years from Adnan Syed and his family. You know, the opportunity for him to have, you know, to go to the family gatherings and to worship with them and to be in their lives every day. You know, we forget that, you know, this whole idea of, and I said this the other day about diversity because people really gave me a lot of crap and they were like, oh, you know, your diversity, you're wrong. And I'm like, you know what? You can cry all you want about it. And I'm some white woman. You know what? Who cares? I still know right from wrong, don't you? It doesn't matter what color you are or what race you are. You know right from wrong. You know pointing at someone and saying they did it is wrong if you know they didn't. And that's not a color, okay? That's just what's right. And see, what I don't like, and this is, I'm going to come out and say it, and I may not be, oh, it can't be buffering. No. Because I am plugged in, you guys. I am plugged into my router. This is wrong. I literally plugged in. Oh. Gosh darn it. Is it back on, you guys? If it buffers, just exit out. I don't know what that means. It's back on? Okay. Okay, good. Can I tell you, seriously, I went and bought the thingy. You know, the thingy that plugs into the thingy for the thingy. So I'm on the thingy. I'm not even Wi-Fi, okay? So, you know, it must be the stuff I talk about. You know, that's all I can say. They're out to get me. No, I'm not going to say that. But what I do want to say is that there are a lot of holes in this case. There are a lot of unanswered questions. I even looked at, and I'm going to tell you from my own intuitive feeling, I even looked at the cops and felt there were some things going on with these officers that I didn't trust. I just didn't trust them. And I don't feel that they I feel they got a live one, and I think that Jay was an informant, and I think Jay was going to be someone that they could use for other things, and I think they railroaded this kid. That's my own intuitive. Did you ever have this? And I need to ask you guys this. Are you ever watching a case or what have you, and I love when they go, well, we don't know, and I'm like, that guy did it. You know, it's like, I got to tell you all this is a true story. Years ago, they called me for jury duty, right? And of course, everybody's on jury duty, blah, blah, blah. Now, I like jury duty. I wanted to do it. So I'm sitting there and they're like, okay, you're called, they call you in. And I made it to the point where it was some kind of theft or something. And anyway, they had everybody sitting there and the lawyers ask you questions, right? So I'm sitting there and they call me in and I get to sit there and I get sworn in. I'm so excited, my American duty. And they go, profession, they just ask me, how are you American? Just different questions. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And they go, what's your profession? I said, I'm a psychic. And everybody looked around. I said, listen, we can just cut to the chase right here. I can tell you if he's guilty or not. I was dismissed. So there you go. That was my, and there we have it. Yeah, I think that, I think the thing is, Naeem, and I really feel, in this case, I know that's hilarious, right? In this case, I feel like, I keep saying his name because I feel like I want Adnan to go home. I feel like it is time. And the beauty of him, when I look at him now, and truth bumps, I look at him and he is home. He's in home. He's home in his heart. And I see that he has not been destroyed. He still carries his faith. And I really honor that. And I want him to go home because I don't feel he did it. Now that's my own opinion. But on the other hand, I also feel he has a right to a fair trial. So whether they let him go or they give him a fair trial at this point, I do feel that there's something fishy. You know what? Something's fishy in Denmark. I'm just going to say it. It's not right. It's not right. This guy, Jay, he's been arrested more than 20 times. And he's been gone to trial for. Something's wrong. They keep letting him off. And he's the one that said, oh, he did it. About Adnan? No, I don't buy it. And see, this to me, everybody, is the most scary thing of all. And it smacks of the McCarthyism. And I want you to notice energetically what happens, right? So, and I've seen this, the 50s, right, were McCarthy. Everyone was afraid of communism, right? So what happens is if you just said, oh, that guy, my neighbor's communist, you got some kind of feather in your cap, and that guy would go lose his career. He would be blackballed in Hollywood. This was a big thing that was going on in Hollywood at the time. And I feel like this is what's happening or has happened at that time with a lot of Muslim Americans. And I think we can look at from 99, right? And once 2001 happened, 9/11, sorry, he was never going to get another chance. I mean, we had to get almost 20 years away before anybody would listen. So as I'm saying this to you, I just feel like that's 20 years of his life because of his race. And if I say race, human race, I get that, but of his religion, because and his faith and his culture where his family originated from. But the thing is that if you live peacefully in America, come on in. If you can live peacefully with us, that's all I have to say. And I don't care what nationality you started as. I really don't care. I just think it's come here and live peacefully, or don't come. Stay where you are. Let me see. George Bush did 9/11. Yeah, I know there's a lot of thought about that. I think that Adnan is housed in the same prison where Jeffrey McDonald is housed. Interesting. That's very interesting. Where's Nikki? She said something here. Anita, maybe lost in translation. I think that yeah, she might have missed something. Post it again. Okay, let's see. Dawn, lady, you are dismissed, but sorry to change the subject, but I wish they closed the case files, would use people who have gifts for helping solve murders for closed cases, right? What does dismissed mean? I don't understand, Miss Dawn. Whatever. Okay, notice off. Oh, okay. Let me see. I agree it's because of his background, because he was Muslim. I do think so. I'm sorry. That's where I feel. Okay, Naeem. 9/11 inside job by Porsche. No. Don't go off the rails on me here, folks. Let's see. Happy to family. Oh, yay, Sarah. Good to see you. Let me just see. Let's see. Well, if you're going to commit a crime, do it in Norway. That's all I have to say, Gail. Bush family CIA, so yeah, not too far off. Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to get into much conspiracy theory on that. I don't disagree. I don't agree. I don't know. I don't know. That's really my truth. Let's see. A lost in translation. There's a picture of Jay Walker on the internet. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And he really does look like something's wrong with him. Let's see. Oh, okay. This is good. Jeffrey blew the whistle on the drugs coming into the country. Okay. I was quoting you when you were talking about your jury duty. Lady, you're dismissed. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's like, and that's the thing. A lot of times I can look at somebody and go, but not always. And, but I can tell you right now, there is a resurgence that I'm very happy is happening. And that is that there are people who were unfairly tried because of the time period and the pressure to clear cases, and they are coming back. Now, and I think a lot of times people try to keep it down because they really don't want it to be like all of a sudden all of those cases are going to be reopened because of a particular detective or what have you. That doesn't mean that all of those cases are bad. It just means that, it just means that we're in a different time period now. And I think, let's see. No, don't help me solve 9/11. I'd rather not know right now. Just because there are too many people that were killed there and it's really hard. All righty. Okay. Jeffrey McDonald. Yeah, that was quite a case, huh? It's funny. I don't know enough about Jeffrey McDonald. I always felt he just looked scary to me. And I feel like he's very similar to Chris Watts in the sense of but I don't know. I really don't. I mean, the difference for me is that it's clear cut that Chris Watts did it. With Jeffrey McDonald, I always had an I don't know. And by the way, I had the same I don't know with JonBenet. I know I'm opening a can of worms on that one, but I want to say with JonBenet, for a long time, I thought the brother did it. And then I was like, and you guys know, okay, I was meditating the other night, and I don't know what it was, but something came up on YouTube about JonBenet. And I started watching her, and something really came forward to me, and I really felt that there was someone who watched her. Like, it was like this moment when I was watching her, and it was like this tiny human, you know what I mean? She was like this tiny adult. And I thought, I wonder if a sicko wacko was watching her and was, you know what I mean? Like, it was easy to get into that house. I don't believe, I don't know. I don't believe Patsy did it. I feel sorry for that family in general because of the loss of JonBenet, and she might have done it. I mean, I don't know, but I kind of got this feeling somebody was watching her. And I didn't go into it too much, but I will more. I want to talk about different cases with you guys as well. So let's see. Kill someone in Iceland and get a life sentence. It's 16 years and the jail year is only 8 months. So they're out in just a few years. Wow. Well, yeah, you know what, though? That's rare. They don't need to kill each other. Everybody gets along. I feel like he did it in okay. Oh, are you talking about Jeffrey McDonald? Yes. Hey, Lisa, good to see you. Hi, Gina. Okay, Jennifer. Yeah, me too. It's a bizarre case. It's unsettling. I don't know either. So I think what I'm vibing on tonight is just that I'd like to find out more about Adnan Syed. I really want to invite all of you to do the same, and I want to do more. I want to do more on that particular case, and I'm also trying to figure out, because I've got to get that going too. I'm going to start doing a tarot Tuesday, which will be with my cards, and then there's something else, and I forgot. Anybody have anything? Because I'm kind of like, I'm so glad it's Friday night, and I just want to sit out with an iced tea on my porch. That's right. That's what we call the she shed in North Carolina. It's your front porch. I asked somebody that. I said, yeah, you know, I thought a she shed would be interesting. And they went, darling, do you mean your front porch? I was like, yeah, okay. Every time I think I'm convinced, Rachel, I'm convinced about who killed JonBenet, my mind changes again. I know. And Shayna said, I think the brother JonBenet killed her, maybe by accident, and the family covered it up. You know, I always felt that. And I know. Oh, yeah, if you guys would like the video, please subscribe. Any new subscribers? I want to kind of like do a shout out to you. Yeah. Call Ghostbusters. Okay, Smarty Naeem. Yes, I've been hearing a lot about that case. Yeah, no, that's fine, Lisa Martin. I would call in to share my info sometime on Patsy. Okay, go for it. Go on ahead. Oh gosh, that's so funny. Let's see. JonBenet, I want to see that I might do. Tori, do JonBenet right now. Okay, I will. Going that park she must have been in. Hey, Shimmer Soul. Oh, Susan Powell. I don't know enough about that case, but I will do some research, okay? Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Yeah, I think that it's, and Kaya, I think it's the cases that haunt us that really, those are the ones I want to talk about too. How can someone live what seemed like a normal life? In Colorado, you can be charged with murder if you're under 10 years of age. Brooke was 9. Oh, don't even start with me on that 9-year-old. Let's see. Yeah, she's funny. My American husband, my USA hubby, says if you're going to kill someone, do it in Iceland or any of the Scandinavian countries because the jails are nice. Yeah, I'll look into Susan Powell. I don't know enough about it. And thank you, Yifa. Yilfa. I want to say it right. Hey, anybody else new? Yeah, exactly. Hey, Kaya, good. I hope you come see me in the UK. I'm going to be at College of Psychic Studies. I'm doing a full day. I'm going to be doing a bunch of stuff. It'll be so fun. I'm so looking forward to London. It's just my favorite city in the world. Hit like Jack. Hit the like Jack. Okay, I like hit the road Jack. Okay, let's see. There's a podcast called Cold. All right. Okay, but if you would, Amelia, go ahead and when you get a chance, just put it in the actual comment section when this video is up. So, or you can go on to, if you look at the page, you'll see a section, I think it says community or comments or something. And under that you can post, but I think it's just post after this video goes, you know, just the after effects are up. Just put a comment in and give me that info and I'll follow up on it. Cause I have heard the name. I don't know enough about it. So I want to bring my dogs to the UK, but my old one is too old. Okay, let me see. Killing time is murder. We have homework. Oh gosh, I know you got homework. Yeah, I want to bring my dogs. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I will. Not new, but finally made it to. Yay, Ravenator, good to see you. So let's talk for a few minutes then about JonBenet, because that case always. Oh, do you want to come up, Oz? That case always bothered me as well, and I think part of me didn't really follow it because there were some absurd things about it. Okay, one of the absurd things that came up for me was 8 hours she's in the basement and you didn't find her? Like, that seems really odd to me, that you would not search a house looking for your child. Like, to me, I would be combing every inch of that house. So I just, and just to share with you, there was, in my house in California, I had like a little side porch, okay? And it was a tiny bedroom, and it had curtains and blah, blah, blah. Well, one day, somehow, my whippet Frank, who I just loved, miss him, he got locked into there. I went frantic. I couldn't find him because he was a silent guy. He didn't bark. He just would sit and wait for me to come. I mean, can you imagine? 4 hours, I'm searching everywhere. I'm like running up the street. I'm looking everywhere, and I didn't think to look in that room. And then I looked over at the room, and I saw the curtains move a little. And then I looked again, and I saw a little nose sticking through the curtains, and I went, I'm an idiot. So I found Frank. But that's what I mean. That always bothered me about the JonBenet case, was that, why didn't you find her? Like, it just seemed odd to me that, let's see, let me just see. She came up in my feed too recently. Weird, JonBenet. Yeah, it's, I know, my little Franklin. Oh, I miss him like you can't imagine. Oh my God. JonBenet case, I heard about it from watching documentaries in the UK. Why was it never solved? Why were there suspicions toward the parents? Okay, so there were a lot, because right away the parents lawyered up. They had, as we say here in the States, they got attorneys because they were being accused. And I think it's a really hard thing because, again, if we look at the time period, you know, this was how many years ago now, you guys? Was it 15? I mean, I'm thinking Patsy, the mother, died in 2006. So that was 13 years ago. And I think that, you know, that house was so big, they didn't find her in the basement. I always felt, and this was my own sense, was that the brother did it. I always felt he did it. And because I always felt he was a little slow and unable to kind of like, his brain wasn't on the right setting. Let me put it that way. And I always kind of thought, gee, he seems so emotionless. And I just wasn't sure if he had some kind of neurologic disorder or condition or whatever that made him that way. I really don't. Was it 95? No. Was it really, girl? Holy crap. Thank you, Scott Rossetti. I'm glad you said that. I couldn't follow the JonBenet case either. And I'm glad you said that. I know, 25 years ago. Is that really possible? It is. Aw, sorry. I'm glad you said that, Scott, because I'm going to be honest and say this. I love reading mysteries, right? But the minute I start reading and it's about a child, something happening to them, I can't watch it. I can't follow it. Now, ironically, I didn't have a problem following the Chris Watts case, but I think it was because, for me, it was the crime had a totality. It wasn't just the children, even though that still haunts me. I can't explain it, but when I read about in depth about children being molested or abused or all of that kind of stuff, I can't. I just, like, I remember reading, there was a book I was reading, I think it was one of the early Mary Higgins Clark, and I looked at it and went, oh, nope, can't read it. Child. So I get a little squeamish about that, because I think it's because, you know, for me, I went through so much emotional abuse with my mother that I just, like, the thought of like reading it, that is not fun for me, and it's not interesting. And I really want to send shout outs and blessings to the people who do those jobs that save children and all of that, because it's just, it's so thankless. You know, I mean, it's really, okay, the Watts case, the only child case I've been able to follow. Me too, Amelia. Who wasn't a family member? I'm wondering who that is. Let me go. Great, Cruise Boston, thank you. Yeah, I would love to know more about that. See, thank you, Texas Lassie. This was one of my, did anyone see the documentary saying there's some kind of connection with one of the dads in the pageants? That was what I was picking up. that's what I was picking up. I was picking up someone watching her, and it was a jealousy. It was a jealousy. It was like, I'm going to stop her. And it wasn't a woman's jealousy. Do you know like how women get, we don't take this wrong way, you guys, but it's a catty thing. It wasn't, and sometimes they get violent, but I'm talking about a man's energy, a male energy, jealousy, and there's a vibe I had. And if you would send me Texas Lassie, send me the link to that. I would really like to see that because, and by the way, everybody, you can send it to support@Tori Hartman and just put in the subject, Tori requested this. Now I've told everybody, but then Elizabeth will read it more carefully because I get so many, and by the way, just not from you guys too, from people who read my books or whatever. And it's just like a lot that she has to handle in a day. So that's for that. But yeah, thank you for that, Texas Lassie. That's really good to know. Let's see. Oh, Gina, what about the DNA test? I know the heart hurts too much. Was she sexually abused? Yes, that was my understanding. There was a belief that, yeah. What about the UK couple, a doctor and wife and the perfect baby in Spain? Oh yeah. They were doing really bad molest. I don't think that's true. I'm going to tell you, Dawn. I was looking at that couple, and she's talking about, just so you all know, McCain. It was the little McCain girl, and it was a couple who went on vacation in Spain, and they had other friends, and it was just a little odd, but there were a lot of other things coming out about that case because the case is that all the parents were kind of sitting by the pool, and they had like these, I want to say like little apartments, right? And so their food, they had dinner by the pool, and the apartment doors were unlocked. And the little McCain girl was taken, they said, from one of the apartments. And people have been asking me, and I have this weird feeling she's going to be found. And I don't know. People are asking me, and I could be wrong. And I certainly don't do missing person cases anymore. I don't really like them. They can be really creepy, but I have a feeling she's alive and she was abducted, but I'm not so sure that and again, it could be, let's see. Yeah, I'm glad Texas Lassie's here too. I don't know what you said, Persnickety. Persnickety's pretty cool. Sorry, I missed that one. I think she was 3. Yeah, she was like 3 or 4. I know. We studied yeah, I can't look at it. Thank you. Story time. All right. I think she's alive and they traded her. That's what I think. I must say, Tori, stories are anything but bed stories. Well, this is not a bedtime story. No, she was not sexually abused. Are you talking about JonBenet? I think and forgive me because I really tried not to follow that case. And you know what, too? I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but I just think that the little girl pageant thing is kind of creepy to me. It's kind of like clowns, okay? Clowns creep me out. And it's just me. Now watch, everybody will put up a clown. but it's kind of like, I don't have pictures of clowns in my house. And when I was growing up, my dad loved clowns. So he had clown pictures. And finally I went in one day and said, I hate these. He was like, what? I must have been like 10. I go, remove them. They are freaking me out. I can't stand them. My dad went, oh, okay. And he got rid of them, So I just have a thing about that. And I feel the same way about baby beauty pageants because I just feel like these children don't necessarily know what they're doing. And I think that, it's one thing if a child really wants to, I guess, but I just feel like at 3, that's kind of imposing your will on them. So I just, I know, let's see. Check it out. I love clowns. Dawn, you're so funny. Yes, Gina Shaw, she was dressed very provocatively. And there was one moment when JonBenet turns around and she goes like this and slides off her jacket. And I thought, this child is being trained. This child's being trained, and it just creeped me out a little bit. Yeah, I agree with that, Saturn Q. I know your message is held, but I do think that they can be sexualization, which is kind of weird. And oh, Owen and Gavin, no, they had a proper puppyhood. They did not go to like any kind of like, you know, dog split, you know, what do you call it? Dog exploitation stuff. Yeah, Nellie, we talked about him. We're going to still talk about Adnan Syed. Let's see. The crime scene was ruined by so many people. That's so true. She looked 12, Gina. Well, right now, just so everybody knows, we are talking about JonBenet Ramsey. We kind of got onto that a little. Dog exploitation. See? I don't believe in that. How about the real perfect non-human babies for people to carry around in public like a mini puppy in a handbag? You don't have enough things to do where you'd have to carry a fake baby around. I mean, like seriously? I always say my shit has shit to do. I mean, I really, you know, like I don't have time for that kind of stuff. Like I'm just amazed. I'm always amazed when people like have time to, because I'm always doing something, and that's my problem. I should probably be doing this. I remember an old boyfriend of mine's sister made me this big jar with buttons stuck on it. And I looked at it and I went, what am I supposed to do with this? She said, well, it's a decorated piece. I go, girl, this isn't my idea of decoration. You need to keep this. And she was like, oh, okay. I liked her actually. But it was funny. They're called reborns. Can I tell you something? I would be up all night. I'm one of those people either. That you can't bring dolls into my house. That's the, Gypsy Rose. Now, forgive me, Gypsy Rose, is she the girl whose mother like basically Munchausened her? Am I right about her? Because I'm trying to remember the case. A couple people mentioned it, but I don't know, Norma, but Munchausen's, yeah. Okay, all right. First of all, I think somebody should have killed that mother a long time ago. I know that's not popular to say, but that woman should have been thrown off a cliff. Or better yet, why didn't we just give her all the drugs she was giving her child? I'm sorry, but I don't think that woman should have gotten 10 years. Okay, I'll watch it. Let's see. Yeah, she made her ill on purpose. Can I tell you something? I have enough stuff that I worry about. Like, seriously? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I have something, you know? I'll message my doctor. I'm like, I think I have this. Somebody commented that I have this. And she messages me back and she goes, you don't have that. I love her because I'll go, do I have this? You know? And she'll like, yeah, you got that. Come on in, you know? Okay, shit to do. I was abused. I'm sorry, Gina Shaw. I should just put that on a coffee mug. Let's see, you're right about Gypsy. Torture she did to that child. Yeah, you know what? And here's the thing we're living in also, everybody. And this is something, here's my, you know, you've heard me say twisty, right? You've heard me say like people take words and they twist them. And this is kind of, hi, Owen. This is kind of one of the things that's been going on for me is like people will take one thing that's said, right? They'll go, ooh, like if I said, oh, look, a black box, people go, you think people who have black purses are this? I'm like, oh God, help me. You know, like they just want to get, it's like they want to pull their little soapbox up, right? And then climb up on it and go, let me tell you how I think about this kind of box. It's like, really? Because here's the thing. It's not that I don't want to hear your opinion. It's just like you twist the words so you can be right. That's crazy. Okay? I'm sorry. But like I had this woman the other day, and I think I might have shared this, but people get on these feeds and they a long thing about something, and I'm like, hold on. I think you've mistaken me for someone who really cares about your opinion about something I didn't say. You know, that's the thing. I don't mind if you have an opinion on something I said. Like if I go, yeah, I think this or whatever, and you go, I don't agree. Cool. Like sometimes I'll just say on the feed, I'll just go, okay, because I don't know what to say because I don't agree, but they're not saying anything mean. So it's like, okay, I just want to acknowledge them. So it's kind of a tough one. Don't you ever wish on YouTube that they had an LOL button? Don't you wish they had that? Like a one that's like just somebody grabbing their stomach, leaning forward and just laughing their butt off. Because sometimes you just want to say that about the comments, don't you? Don't you just want to go, where did you, like, who beamed you in with this twisted idea of something? Like, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, just so you know. An example of that would be, because one day I had mentioned a tarot card, right? And I was talking about tarot or something, and somebody came on, and it was like a long blurb on scripture and why I was evil. But here's the thing. I said, you know what? Please don't post this stuff on my feed. It's not supportive. And then someone else pulled a little box up, got on the box and went, you're against scripture. I go, no, I'm against people who attack me using scripture, okay? I don't care what, if you have an opinion that's legitimate, right? I want to hear it. But I really, don't you get tired when people try to twist what you say? Yeah, exactly. Twisty McTwisties. And you know what? It really is that they twist words and they make you crazy. You know what I mean? Twisties make you crazy because you're trying, then they suck you in like a Hoover and you're kind of going, no, I didn't mean that. I meant this. And you have to go, wait a second. This is a twisty. This is a crazy maker. Ooh, hide from channel. That's the thing, is that I really, like I said, I don't have anything against scripture. I don't have anything against people's opinions. What I don't like is if you attack someone, and I don't like when you go on about an opinion that, I didn't say anything about that. Like in other words, and here's an example. When I was talking the other day about the idea of diversity, what I said about diversity was, and I want to make very clear, I said that diversity is nothing without an open mind, and that a lot of people just look at diversity as skin color. And I think that we're missing that piece of like, you have a right to disagree with me, and I want to hold that as sacred opinion for you, even if I don't agree with you. That's where I come from with diversity. I feel like diversity should also include opinions and thoughts and ideas, because guess what? That's how we grow together. That's how we expand our consciousness. If we just all agree on things because it's politically correct, then it's no good. So my thinking is, when this woman came on and said, well, I can tell you're not, she said something about me being not against diversity. That's what she went, I'm a white woman in my 50s and I've never really experienced diversity, not, racism or whatever. And I just thought, and then she went into how her job, right? The job she was at let her go because she was too old. And then when she found another job, and now she's working with all these young people. And I thought, but isn't that feeling left out? Isn't that really what we're trying to accomplish with the idea of embracing and inclusion? And isn't inclusion more important than diversity? Shouldn't it be that everybody's included? So I think what I'm trying to say is that those who are striving to exclude others, go do it somewhere else. What I really want to foster here and support is that we are all included and we all belong. And that's the idea. So, that's where I come from with this. And I think, yeah, Nellie, that's what I'm saying. It is gaslighting, and I think Lisa said it. Some people are always looking for conflict. And here's the funny thing about conflict. Conflict, for some people, helps them so much, because it helps. I know it's helped me, because when I was always in conflict, and I had maybe a time in my life when I was, it helped me because I didn't have to look at my own stuff. I didn't have to feel the pain of a mom who really wasn't there, and really feel that sadness. I think one of the things that we're avoiding most is the idea of feeling sadness over something. And we make sadness, or how can I put it, loneliness, we make it a crime. Just like 15, 20 years ago, we talked about, we talked about how mental illness shouldn't be something we judge people on. Yet now all we do is throw around terms of mental illness. Are we right? Are we not? Who knows? And what I'm trying to say is that I want to get back to the idea of like, your behavior is acceptable to me or it isn't in the moment. And when I say to somebody, listen, I'm uncomfortable with the way you're talking to me, if they make fun of me, they don't get to stay in my life. If they honor that and go, wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable. And can we change the subject or can we talk about something else? Then I know that person will say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. And believe me when I tell you this, I spent a lot of time with people saying to me, I'm not comfortable with how you're saying that, Tori. And I'm like, oh, okay. And me going, oh, okay, like I won't say that to you, and sometimes, and I didn't mean it. I would be joking with people, but it was mean. It was mean. And they would say, you know what, you're joking with me, but it's really mean. And I go, oh yeah. So I had to work a lot, and I still do, on the passive aggressive stuff. And I know that sometimes people get on the feeds and they go, that person's a narcissist, this person's, and it's like, okay. And I had one person recently who was so insistent, well, if you knew, you would agree with me, is what the comment was. And I said, okay, maybe I don't know. And then I kind of went, well, you know what though? I grew up with a narcissistic mom. I know what that is, but you know what? It's more important to me that I look at the nuances of it so that I can define my feelings around it. It's not important if I say someone's a narcissist, who cares? I have to look at how I feel about it, how it relates to me in the world. And so when I look at these crimes, I also have to look at how I'm relating to it. Why are we fascinated with these crimes? And it's because there's an injustice in us, right, that we relate to, that we want to set right in the world. And so when I find I can't let something go, like with a dog with a bone, I have to look in the mirror. I have to look at, like, what is that? What's going on with me that I can't, I can't release my point of view in that moment. And sometimes I don't do it 100%. When somebody said, could you please not use the term Neanderthal? Because it really is kind of a politically incorrect thing. And I went, no, I'm going to use it because we're all descended from Neanderthals. And if my guest this was about a feed I did on face reading with Laura. And I said, no, if my guest wants to say that, that's fine. That's not, it's in context, to kind of become PC police, here we come, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, truthfully, most people that are, someone said this and I thought it was brilliant, and you guys know this is true. The people who object the most are often the most objectionable people. I mean, really, because who the hell wants to be in a room with someone that's always correcting you? It's like a grammar police, right? It's like, it's like, I have this thing about your YOU apostrophe RE, blah, blah, blah. And I have this theory, everybody, that, the cell phone thing, we're going back to hieroglyphics. I mean, we started with hieroglyphics, then we got a language, and now we're going back to it. I just think it's like, okay. But I think, I have a little grammar issue, but nothing's perfect, Is Glam Dolly in the house? I got to see. Was Glam Dolly in the house? Yeah, Baba. Hey, Yifa, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Let's see. Lost in translation. Oh, yeah. Do you have tarot cards that are available for sale? Yeah, and it's my new deck. It's coming out. It's called Chakra Wisdom Tarot. And one of the things that's fascinating for me about this is the Fool's Journey. And for those of you that don't know what that is, the Fool's Journey is actually the journey we all take in life. And there's 22 steps in it. From the first risk we take to nirvana, which is actually the resurrection. Okay, so for people who get all freaked out about it, what's interesting is it's actually your personal journey in life. And so when you see the death card, we all experience death in our life, like whether we lose a loved one or a pet. Oh, don't even start losing a pet. But whatever it is, we experience these things. So the idea is, I took the Fool's Journey and I made it the Fool's Journey was her journey, And each card, we see a chakra evolution in the journey, but we also, she's in each card learning as she goes. So the first 7 cards are the mentors she meets and the things she must learn in order to be holistic in her life, right? I can't tell you how many people will message me and go, you know, I feel empty and I do all the right things. And the thing is that you can do all the right things, but if it doesn't feel authentic to you, it's not right for you. And, you know, and conversely, you know, I have people that say to me, you know, I go to church and I don't relate. And I relate more here and I feel like this is my place. And it's like, that's fine. But I have just, you know, people who say to me, I don't want this. I don't relate to it. I go to church and I get filled there. And I'm like, that's great. Because it really is about inner peace, right? So anyway, the Fool's Journey is the idea of the first 7 cards. We see the Fool as she meets the Magician and learns about her emotions, as she learns about her femininity from the Empress and what masculinity is and the masculine energy from the Emperor. So we follow her through these 7 lessons. If we don't get these lessons in life or we miss one, that's what drives us to deep unhappiness. So the next 7 is taking what you've learned and bringing it and applying it to the world. What happens in those is we get to see how we stumble, where our failings are, if you will, what we need to learn to complete. Because what I always say is what you skip will stop you. So what happens in that sense, and this goes, it's so funny because it's so related to what we're talking about. And then, of course, the final 7 is mastery, personal mastery of like, how will I behave in the world? How can I set an example for myself and for others? So it's a very interesting thing. And it really is about that conversation that started with Me Too, but it's kind of at what, you know, and I think we need to look at where we are in our journey and what we need to learn for ourselves. And everybody has a different lesson, you know, and that's kind of it. So yeah, you can get them all on Amazon. So that's, let's see, I want to just check in with you. Oh yeah. Yeah, the cards, actually I'm doing let's see. Oh, your boxer, Texas Lassie. I can't, it just, you know, let's see. I've gotten the Death card often, but it resonates with my Capricorn Saturn sign. I want to talk about the Death card. That's a good card to talk about. Death is actually a rebirth. And what it says is the old self dies while you're alive, and the old ideas die with it. And the person that you are no longer meant to be or assigned, right, goes away. And when I say assigned, you know, there are people who say, oh, you know, I was the fat girl, or I was the, you know, if you were the one with good handwriting, or you were the talker in class, you know, whatever you were assigned, the Death card says you no longer have to be that assignment. And it also allows you to step forward with who you really are. And you emerge from the lessons as a person who is holistically ready to let go of what isn't true in your life. So I think the Death card is really about letting go of the personal lies, you know, things that don't sit well with us. And I think that for me, one of the things that I've always felt comforted with is stories. I love stories. I love reading them. I love telling them. I love seeing them, watching movies. And I really feel that when we look at these human stories of true crime, and going back to, you know, Adnan Syed, or Syed, forgive me if I'm saying his name wrong. I think we have to look at the idea that his story is not over. And it's a story many of us relate to and can fear. At any moment, we can be pulled out of our life and thrown into some sort of personal imprisonment. Now, whether it's behind bars or it's within us, we walk around in prisons. It's kind of like I think it's, forgive me, I forget the quote. The quote is, I think it's an Oscar Wilde, but Emerson maybe. Many people live lives of quiet desperation. And I think that when we look at someone like him, Adnan Syed, who is, I feel, needs a new trial, and many of the investigation lacked a lot, let's put it that way, left out quite a bit. I feel that when I look at who he is today, he still is that person of faith. That is still that person. He was not going to become something else because that's who he is. And so I think we have to live our truth. We have to live with the idea of becoming who we are is the greatest gift we have, no matter where we live it. You know, when we look at people who've spent lifetimes behind bars and they walk out, like I'm thinking of people like Nelson Mandela and people who walk out and are these people like Adnan Syed who are still living that true life. Now, is it the kind of life we think is fair? No, I don't necessarily think it's fair, but I still honor the idea that I think, truth bumps, I'd rather be in prison and live with my own completeness than in a prison of my own making and walk around out here. Because I think that both are hell of a different kind. And I think that when the death card emerges, it's an opportunity to, like a snake, shed that old skin. It's no longer who you are and just move on, right? Just get away from it. Let's see. What did Amelia say? Yeah, not so quiet desperation on YouTube. Hello. Yeah. Yeah, Glam Dolly 20. Thank you. It's good to see you, babe. Very good to see you. Yeah, I think that there's a lot that's going on with, you know, and of course, you know, part of what I feel about true crime, and I think why I really, when justice is carried right, when it's carried perfectly, it is like seeing something. It's like a wrong that was turned right. And it is so powerful to see that. And yet, when I see someone who I feel is unjustly imprisoned, it's a wrong that I feel very want to be set right. But you know, here's the thing I want to say. You know, who you are is never defined by your circumstances. It's defined by you in this moment. And every moment you get a choice to define yourself any way you want to define yourself. And, you know, if you define yourself as someone who doesn't have a lot, then that's how you define yourself. You know, I was very challenged recently by, in my own world, where I have a friend that is identical to my mother, and I didn't notice it. And I didn't notice how different I was around her. And then suddenly I went, wait a minute. I just had this epiphany. Like I sat up and I was like, I've been really unhappy these past few weeks. And I went, wow, it's because this person has been in my life more. It's not her fault. She's a great person. It's just that who I am in that friendship is not the best me. It's like I'm trapped in me. And so I went, oh, that's where I need to change, you know? Let's see. Let's see. I always feel like if I'm not with you guys, I kind of want to be in the audience, you know? Yeah, I really want to see. Oh, what? Oh, limited time, your dog. I have been there. Oh my gosh. Can we talk about our dogs? Yes, lost in translation. He has accepted his faith, giving way to his eventual freedom. Yes. And you know, yeah, there we go. You know, I'm so sorry. I think lost in translation, I think you're right about Adnan Syed. Listen, we become what we are destined to become if we stand in an unwavering faith of our truth and honesty. And I believe that that is when we talk about the universal God consciousness, I do believe that's what it is. And I think that we can only raise each other up by being around people that want to raise up the consciousness. And when I say the consciousness, it's not like we all have to ohm on a hill. It's just, don't be mean to each other. That's really how simple it is. What will it cost to go up to one service person tomorrow and say, thank you for your service? What does it cost? Nothing. Go up to one person and say, by the way, I don't say it enough, but I really appreciate that you're here and you perform this service, I remember one day, this is like, I don't know, I walked up to somebody, I was in a store, and he was in full uniform, and I just said, by the way, thanks for your service. I really appreciate it. And as I turned around, I almost bumped into his mother, and she said, I'm really glad you said that. And I said, thank you for your service, because every day that he's not home, you're scared. And she said, yeah, it's true. And I said, how do you get by? And she said, I just have a faith that God's in charge. And I went, oh, love that. All right. Let's see. It really is that simple, isn't it, Jenny? I read playing card. I'm persnickety said I read playing cards. Do you know I used to read playing cards, and I never knew how to do it. I'd pretend. I wonder, what does GOS mean, Gina? Forgive me, I don't know what that means. I had a recording studio called Garden of Sounds. That's what I call it. Texas Lassie, hardest thing I've ever been through is being the mother of a Marine. And God bless you. God bless all the mothers and fathers out there whose children go off to serve. And that's got to be the scariest freaking thing, and I just want to say we live in a time when service is underappreciated, and I do believe that there are many of us who don't thank them enough. Who don't thank them enough. We all have secret struggles. Thank you. Yeah. What's the best way to start teaching oneself tarot? Oh, God bless. Thank you for saying that, Gina. I didn't know that. Yeah, exactly, Amelia. So Nellie, let's, you learned faith, and the true meaning of no news is good news. And you know what, too? No news is no news. I remember once asking an agent, I said, any word of my book? And I said, because she said, nope. I said, I guess no news is good news. She said, no news is no news. And I was like, I'm not staying with her. And I didn't. Chronically Ronnie, my son's deployment was torture. It had to be. It had to be. Yay, Humanimal. Glad you're back. Good to see you, babe. Let's see. My daughter's boyfriend joined the Army 2 weeks ago. Cruise Boston. Nikki, I'm glad you're saying that. That's what I want to achieve through my art, raise people up. Yes, amen. Yeah, Dawn, absolutely, on getting decks. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that for a minute, about learning tarot and learning to read cards. So I'm going to let Dawn share her thoughts too. But I will say this about it. For me, the joy of cards is the excitement of possibility, of the idea of them speaking. And it's not so much predicting the future. It's about seeing that there are wonderful energies and wonderful ways to turn our lives around at any moment. No matter where you are in life, you can turn things around. Oh, interesting. So this is the Six of Swords. You can see that hooded figure. I don't know if you can see that. But it is, just to share with you, so it makes sense. Let's see. If you look at this card, you can see it's crossing through troubled waters. And it also can be the going to the other side of problems and escaping a difficult situation. I have often heard that it also is the leaving behind of addiction. And this, my deck follows closely the traditional Rider-Waite, except it is chakra. So this is, I hope you can It's a 6 of swords. And swords cut, and they also protect. So if you look at this, you can see with the 6 swords where they are. They're protecting, but also she's leaving a few of them behind. So some of the problems from the past are being left behind. So that's the idea, is that we can choose to leave we can choose to leave the mess behind us and realize that we want to move to a place where we no longer have to protect ourselves in that way. Moving away from difficult circumstances. That would be what I would see here. The other thing to keep in mind here is that this is a 6. So 6 is third eye, it's 6th chakra. So the third eye, the 6th chakra in chakra work is about hidden family agreements. It's moving away from the past. It's really choosing a new way and recognizing it might not be easy right away. So that's what, that's what that means. So one of the things I would say to you is there are a lot of good tarot teachers out there. I learned by reading books. And there's an old book, and it's funny, Christiana Gaudet, who is an amazing teacher and reader. She's in Florida. Christiana, I think she was in one of my, I had a tarot summit, a card reading summit where I interviewed people, and it's really fun. I think it might be on my website for sale. I don't know, but if you message Elizabeth, she'll tell you. She's my assistant. But anyway, I think that a lot of people think you have to memorize the cards. I think that if you're in the right, I train you, and then you can pick up any deck. That's kind of how I work. I like to, and that's what this book was really about with the Chakra Wisdom cards. It was really about, and that was an oracle deck. It's very different. But it was really about training ourselves. Like, what happens if you get into a reading and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do next, how to handle that. Answering that question, is it my brain or my intuition? So when we look at that, and when I step into that energy, what happens right away is I start yawning. You guys have seen me. I start yawning. So, okay, I need to tell you guys this. This is actually super funny. Tori, bust out the deck. You're losing viewers. Well, whatever. Yeah, you know what? I tell you what. I tell you what's funny is that. I'm persnickety. I'm glad he's home. Yep. Let me just see. What does that mean, though? Tori, bust out the deck. You're losing viewers. I don't know what that means. You mean I was losing viewers because I didn't have the deck out, or I'm losing viewers because I had the deck out? I don't know what you mean. Sorry, I didn't understand that. KK, right on. Let's see, that's funny. My oldest was in Afghanistan. Oh, God bless. I don't know what that means. Gina. Oh, thank you, Glam Dolly. Ignore the comment? Okay, I don't know what that means. Sorry, I just didn't know what it meant. Like, bust out the cards. Does that mean bring them out or not bring them out or whatever? And sometimes that's the thing. It's like, I just don't know what people mean. And that's the funny thing too, guys. I've been really struggling with the YouTube thing because I'm thinking, wow, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing here. Maybe I shouldn't do this because it takes so much time. And I'm like, am I doing the right thing? But, I enjoy it. And, somebody said, are you making money at it? I said, not really. Because it's like I'm not, when I was covering Chris Watts, absolutely. But, if you're just talking or you don't have something sensational, it's hard, But I'm fine with that. It is what it is. Oh, okay. I see. Hi, Tori. Yeah. My father was in the military. It took an awful toll on him. He was never the same upon returning. Lost in translation. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying, Gina. Okay. All right. So here's some things I want to say about that lost in translation, because my father, he served in World War II. He jumped on D-Day, and he was the radio operator. And I really miss my dad. I loved him. You know, I think the thing is that it depends on what war they serve in, because every war is different. And I think in some ways the World War II guys really, you know, they were validated for killing people. If you think about it, it was like, but they're Nazis, kill them, it's okay. And then sorry, it's just my it's my alarm in my house. But I think that the Vietnam vets had the hardest time. I think they had a really not only were they exposed to Agent Orange and all those things, but anyway, I'm not trying to say one is worse than the other. They're all, war is war. I remember my dad saying to me, you know, I said, well, tell me what happened. And he'd tell me all the stories. And I'd be like, wow. He'd go, you know, Tori, what do you think war is? We're sending young guys off to be killed. It isn't a picnic. We're not going over there and making doilies. You know, he said, we're trying to set the world right. And, you know, a lot of people don't want you to do that. And I thought, wow, that's really true. Let's see. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Did your brother make it through? Yeah. Okay. All right, Owen. He's kind of crying. Let's see. Yeah. Thank you, Scott. I think the thing that happens for me is that I enjoy the energy. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do a tarot day. I might do it this weekend at some point, you know, depending. But I'd love to pull some cards for y'all. I'll do that. And I kind of want to give people preparation so they know it's coming, just because I feel that there are some people who, you know, are coming here and they're like, I want to talk true crime. And it's like, I don't want them to be thrown off by that. But at the same time, that's me. I used to scare my dad when I was little because we'd pull into a parking structure. I go over there. He'd be like, what are you talking about? There's a spot in the front. He'd be like, Tori, I'm just going to take the first spot. I go, he'd be, what? I'd go to the front. Sure enough, we'd pull up front. Somebody'd be pulling out. He'd go, how do you know that? I go, I don't know. I was just lucky. That wasn't anything. I agree, Humanimal. It was disgusting the way people, you know, veterans deserve respect. I completely agree. I completely agree. Yeah, they've been treated like shite. Yeah. Oh, Frankendoll, tarot. All right, me too. I'm so excited that I finally have a deck, and I'm having so much, you know, so much fun doing it. I know I love Frankendoll. Like Tabitha, yep. Actually, it was Samantha, Bewitched. Nose wiggle. Camera down. Download, please. Okay. Let's see. Mert, you keep getting timed out, buddy. Don't know what you're saying. My father died from Agent Orange. I'm so sorry. Yeah, disgusting what they did to those people. I must have much your dear dad's character. Aw, thank you, Glam Dolly. Yeah, I do have a lot of my dad in me, and he, like, you know. Michelle, I just, you know what? I love listening to the Irish speak, even though I have no idea half the time what y'all are saying because you speak so fast, but it just is so beautiful. And okay, hold on. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, everybody wants to see Gavin. Michael Jackson. You know, I'll tell you something. I'm going to mention Michael Jackson. You know, I really, thank you, Dizzy Ms. Lizzie. I appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat. Chat really helps. Okay, I know. Oh, wants his dinner. I'll give it to him in a minute. You know why I don't mention Michael Jackson? All right, and I'm glad you brought this up. Is I loved his talent, and I feel that he had his own rough journey, and I don't think it's right to abuse people, blah blah blah, whether you believe he didn't or did or whatever. But I don't bring Michael Jackson up because I think there's a lot of honor that he deserves for the talent he had, and I think that he suffered. I think he suffered every freaking day, and I don't ever want to condemn someone like that, because I think he was thrown under the bus many, many times, and I have a lot of compassion for him. So there we go. Let's see. Okay, okay. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm a household name. I was telling my family about your chats. When I'm watching YouTube, my 15-year-old son will say to me, "Is that your lady?" Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to share with you a really neat, really, really neat technique, because you reminded me of this, and then we're gonna close with this technique. Okay, good timing. So the technique I teach when I teach people about card reading and about life, really, is a technique I call neutral observer. And the neutral observer is not detached. The neutral observer is not a removal of your feelings. The neutral observer says, that's interesting. So, for example, I got a letter from the IRS. I still don't know what it is, because I got the note, I got to go to the post office. And the past, I would have gone, ah! Now I go, that's interesting. Now I might have feelings about that. Okay, I might be feeling very stressed inside, but at the end of the day, I look at it and I go, that's interesting, because what I'm training my mind to do is I'm training my mind to observe something and notice my own feeling about it. Like I might be frightened. So I'm not denying my feeling. I'm just observing my feeling and observing the situation. Let me just, thank you, Humanimal. Remember, you're less woo, more you. Hope your spirit remains buoyant. Yeah, baby. Free Willy song. Oh my God, I knew Michael really well. Who's the actor in it? Anyway, okay, Michael Ironside. Yeah. Oh my God, I haven't seen his wife in years. Anyway, so neutral observer just says, that's interesting. Now, how does that work? So, for example, I was teaching this to a client in a class, right? And she was starting to teach some of these things to her 15-year-old son. This is what sparked my thought on it. And, he had a lot of anger issues. Okay, so he would go into upset over certain things. And not that he was wrong on some of them, but he would just have these rage feelings, and he did not know what to do. And so he would like punch holes in walls. He would just freak out, whatever. And they did the best they could in terms of like they got him activities and stuff. So he still had these feelings. The issue is he did not know what to do with his feelings. So when something came up, she started working with the neutral observer in observing him and not telling him to calm down right away. And instead, she started looking at him and thinking, that's interesting, when she was watching him have like a rage attack. And he would say, and she'd say, okay. But neutral, without an opinion, without a judgment, completely neutral. And he'd say, over time, when he wasn't in a rage, he'd say, what is that you do now? Like you're doing something. And she'd say, well, I learned this technique and I'm trying to play with it. And she shared with him that it was a technique where somebody could be in upset and I could just observe it and have a feeling of being scared, but I didn't have to act on that fear. Like I didn't have to tell you to calm down because it frightened me. I could just go, wow, I'm really feeling frightened. And not make meaning of it, not have it make you bad, but just make me be in observing of it. And he was like, oh. Well, a couple weeks later, he came home and He was kind of in a little bit of a quiet mood. She said, "Are you all right?" He said, "Yeah, yeah." He said, a friend of mine broke, and I forget what it was. It was some kind of new pencil or toy or something he had. This 15-year-old boy, I don't know, some kind of thing. A friend of mine broke my pencil. It was a writing implement that he loved, and it upset me. And she went, "What happened?" I mean, she said, "I didn't get called," meaning she was always going to the principal. And he said, "Well, I just thought about your neutral observer, Mom." He said, "I looked at it and I thought, that really makes me angry. I'm really angry." But he said, "I thought, that's interesting how angry I am. And then I decided I didn't have to do anything about the anger because you said that we didn't have to do anything about it." And so sometimes neutral observer can be the best thing to do in a reading. It can be one of the big things that, we can sit back and go, "Oh, that's interesting." So I hope that made some sense to you. Yeah, thank you, Dawn. Yeah, it was a little bit longer. All right, bye, Glam Dolly. Bye, guys. I'm going to just wrap up by saying, keep it clean and kind. That's why I love you, Cruise Boston. Please like the video before you go, if you would, and of course you can watch it later. I'm going to send much love to you all. I'm thinking about how I want to do things. I'm thinking about how I want to, what kind of videos I want and stuff like that. I'm going to be going and posting some questions about that on the discussion. I think it says community tab on the page. So please join me over there. And remember, say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. Also, let's send out some prayers to Adnan Syed and his family, and just really good blessings and wishes. And remember, be kind to each other, and check out that story on Adnan Syed, and I want to hear more about what you think. All right, everyone, much love. Thank you for letting me ramble tonight, and I hope you have a really blessed weekend. Bye for now.